How we doing, folks? Your host Moose here on the Pitt Panthers Football Network, bringing your Around the NCAA recap show as your Panthers coming off arguably one of the biggest victories in recent program history. Obviously, a lot of national championships back in old-time Pitt history, the most recent 1976. But the Panthers now 11-1. They've won the ACC Coastal Division crown. They're looking for their first ever ACC title, coming off a victory 34-31 against Miami. And because of that, some big recruiting news. Of course, Adam Payne, Carnegie, Pennsylvania product, 6'4", 228 outside linebacker, 2-star, not great, okay speed, just an all-rounder, decent type of player. Should be a good tackler and everything as far as that's concerned. But he's brought in because, like I said, remember the whole issue about I used a generic template and unfortunately it messed up my pipeline states. PA is not a pipeline state, things like that. So I wanted to bring him in because he was a PA player, and I thought that would be big to help with the pipeline. Same thing here, another recruit, Ryan Lumpkin, 6'1", 307. We do need defensive tackles. We've already got one in the class with 4-star Darren Toth, but Ryan Lumpkin, a 2-star defensive tackle, pass rusher, 61 overall, but he is from Franklin Park, PA, which is just outside of Pittsburgh, so a big recruit. We always want to get those PA recruits in. He's going to help us get that pipeline back. So another player we brought in. We fought him off from Penn State and Michigan, so a good get as far as I'm concerned. But the coup de grace of the signings we got following the Michigan battle, Zach Butler from Idaho. Okay, we fought off Florida, Texas, LSU. He was interested in Pitt, and we really were interested in a corner, improving our secondary. We know how many yards we've given up, and he's fantastic. 79 overall, 4-star corner, is going to be a big impact player, possibly has a chance to even be a starter next year. That's how poor our team's been this year, so he is a big signing for us, and obviously Pat Narduzzi following that, he knows Pitt is it. Hashtag hail to Pitt. Nard Dog is pretty excited about a couple of those guys we're bringing in. So definitely a big recruiting class that we'll have fully recapped for you sometime very soon. But of course, your Pitt Panthers 34-31 victors, number 7 in the country over number 3 Miami. We're sure to see that change following the result here. What a game it was. Held off a late rally from the Hurricanes, and the Panthers come away with the win. Georgia beat Georgia Tech here in the ACC. Georgia Tech comes away with a loss. Virginia Tech goes to 7-5 with a 14-11 win over Virginia. Louisville goes to 9-3, 6-2 in conference with a victory there, putting the heat on Clemson to still come away with a win. But Syracuse 31-17. Florida, excuse me, not Clemson, on Florida State to see if they could come away with a win. They can't, so Louisville should probably jump them in the polls as Florida 27-20 over Florida State. Clemson with a blowout victory over South Carolina 48-17. Sean Watson had a great performance in that one. North Carolina 34-27 over Duke. And then Wake Forest 20-14 over Vanderbilt to go 7-5. So a decent season for Wake. As far as the top 25 is concerned, Texas with a win. Washington obliterates Washington State to at least get a little bit of momentum going into the Pac-12 championship. SMU 41-38 over Houston, overtime victory. So Houston losses in 2 straight games after starting the season 10-0. They're now 10-2. So really disappointing end to the season for them. Wisconsin 24-17 over Penn State as they go to 11-1. Big victory in a tight contest there. Ohio State goes to 12-0 as they obliterate Michigan. JT Barrett again, 4 touchdown performance, 3 passing, 1 rushing. I mean, I feel like the Heisman's basically locked up for him, but a big win there. USC 30-13. Sam Darnold with a really good performance for USC, and that victory to salvage a little bit of a season for them as they upset UCLA, who's going to go into the Pac-12 championship off of the back of that loss. Florida, of course, over Florida State. Alabama in overtime thanks to 3 touchdowns from Bo Scarborough, or should I say 4 touchdowns, 3 rushing and 1 receiving from Scarborough. That lets them escape with a victory over Auburn, remain unbeaten. LSU also escapes with a win to go to 10-2 over Arkansas. A furious rally. Leonard Fournette with 3 touchdowns of his own to give LSU that win. Clemson 48-17 over South Carolina. Texas A&M big win. TCU going with the win over Baylor. It's not particularly an upset, but it is a big win for TCU. Late touchdown there for the Horned Frogs to give them the win. Mississippi State beating Ole Miss. Navy going to 10-1 with a win over Tulsa. So some big games around the country with those player performance. Joshua Dodd, 6 total touchdowns and a win over Kentucky for Tennessee for the senior quarterback. 350 yards essentially and 6 total touchdowns, which is absurd. Clint Stevens for Bowling Green in a victory had 3 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball. In the ACC, really, where do we focus? Austin Bryan, 2 sacks, interception, blah, blah, blah. Nathan Peterman, the senior quarterback for the Panthers, 253 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in the win over Miami. A huge victory, and great to see him get some recognition for his performance. So the senior quarterback, Jay Peterman, wearing his urban sombrero out there. Great performance from him. Gets that Player of the Week honor. Heisman watch. Still, I'm shocked Quadri Henderson has not gotten any attraction from the Panthers. He's got 4 kick return touchdowns. He's got about 500 rushing and receiving yards, both 1,500 return yards. I mean, he's been all over the field for the Panthers. He's got double-digit touchdowns. You'd think he'd possibly be in here. Unfortunately, he's not. JT Barrett looks to have the Heisman sewn up. So we are going to now go into following this week. How would the polls be shaken up? What would the Panthers do? Making some noise with that big victory, that 3 versus 7 matchup. How are things going to shake out? And you see the Panthers now have clinched the Coastal Division title, 7-1 in conference. They have the tiebreaker over Miami, obviously, with that head-to-head win, as well as the fact that they're 6-0 in their division. Their only loss coming to Florida State, and they will take on Clemson, who they've already beaten once this year in a 31-28 matchup that was at home at Pittsburgh. So we'll see how they go in a neutral site venue, much closer to Clemson, but that will be the ACC championship. In the polls, though, the Panthers have leapfrogged Clemson with that win, which makes sense, but you see there's a stumbling rod here. Oklahoma takes on Oklahoma State. If they win, they'll go to 12-0, and that's all they can really do. Alabama and Ohio State will be in their respective conference title games, as well as Pitt and Clemson. So if somebody wins there, Pitt or Clemson could potentially leapfrog in with losses to Alabama, Oklahoma, or Ohio State. Any 2 of those 3 teams losing, you could see Pitt or Clemson jump into the national championship game. And then Miami sitting right behind there. So 3 ACC teams, 4 through 6, which is fantastic for the conference. Louisville at 15 as well. Florida State 24. Penn State drops back to 23rd with their loss. Middle Tennessee's up to 23rd. So good to see some smaller schools getting some recognition as well. But the big thing is the BCS here. Alabama and Oklahoma. The thing you have to say is if Oklahoma wins out and Ohio State wins out, you would expect Ohio State winning their conference championship game, probably to leapfrog Oklahoma. But we'll have to wait and see if Oklahoma can fend off Oklahoma State this week. If they can't, and then Ohio State or Alabama loses, the winner of the ACC championship game, you would think, would get into the national title. So an outside shot for your Pitt Panthers to get in the national championship game. Heck, even Wisconsin, they're going to be in the game against Ohio State Big Ten championship. Outside opportunity there. You wouldn't expect it, but who knows how the pollsters will really, think things out once championship week has come and gone. The way it stands right now, the Panthers are projected for the Orange Bowl with a not exciting matchup, to be honest. They played Navy in the Military Bowl or the Armed Forces Bowl last year in Annapolis. They're going to be projected to take on Navy again, this time in a bit more of a, prestigious location, albeit the Orange Bowl. But some other matchups there are much more exciting. LSU, Washington, Clemson, Wisconsin in the Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, of course, Pac-12, Big Ten, Ohio State, UCLA, as you would expect. The national championship game sees Oklahoma and Alabama. So we'll have to see if the Panthers are going to get Navy or where they'll be situated as far as that's concerned when all the bowls shake out. Of course, we got a few big matchups left that could really throw a wrench into how these bowl projections actually play out. And the first way that we could do that is these games here in Week 15. Texas taking on Baylor, just a good ranked battle. Somehow Texas has only 11 games on their schedule, so this is their last regular season game. Same with Baylor, so we'll see who comes out on top there in the Big 12. Another big matchup, of course, is that Army-Navy game. Always a huge matchup. Army-Navy on the scheduler. Navy looking to go to 11-1 and go into that American Conference Championship game with a lot of momentum against their hated rivals, Army. Army would love a win to get bowl eligible. Kirk Herbstreit does not see that happening, though. And, of course, the real game of the week, Oklahoma versus Oklahoma State. If Oklahoma wins, they've done all they can. They've stayed unbeaten against a solid Oklahoma State team that just had a rough non-conference schedule. So we'll see what the Sooners can do. Herbstreit sees Baker Mayfield and company coming away with a victory. They've got the 4th best offense in the country, 4th best defense in the country. So definitely, looking to shut down a pass offense from Oklahoma State that's, average at best, but has the prolific talent to be dangerous. So let's see what happened. Texas 35-14 over Baylor. The Longhorns with a victory there. Big win. and a great performance from their defense. Big interception return, giving them a touchdown, some good field position there. Navy just escaped Army 20-14. They had to wake up as they were actually fell behind 14-7, but routed off 13 unanswered, to win there and go to 11-1. And Oklahoma obliterates Oklahoma State 37-13. Baker Mayfield throws for 4 touchdowns in that one. Oklahoma does all they can. They're unbeaten now. They'll just have to wait. If Alabama or Ohio State loses, you would expect that Oklahoma would be in the national championship game as an unbeaten, but that remains to be seen because we now have conference championship week, the big games where the teams put their money where their mouth is. First conference championship game, okay, we have Middle Tennessee State, number 21 in the country, so not anybody to be taken lightly. Very good, solid offense in the Sun Belt. They're going to be taking on Western Kentucky. Cincinnati versus Navy in the American Athletic Conference Championship. Cincinnati's number 19. If they win and go to 11-2, their ranking could skyrocket where they could sneak into a BCS Bowl as the highest ranked group of 5 team potentially. If Navy wins, they'll definitely be in a BCS caliber bowl at 12-1. But that's your American Conference game. Mountain West, Boise State, San Diego State. Neither team having a great season. San Diego State 8-4, Boise 7-5. Not to their usual standard that you come to expect from the boys on the blue turf. But Donnell Pumphrey, really legendary running back, ton of touchdowns for San Diego State, number 9 rush offense in the country, and Herbstreit sees them coming away with a victory. In the MAC, a little bit of MACtion for you. 8-4 Ohio taking on 10-2 Western Michigan here. And you expect Western Michigan to come with a victory. They've been fantastic all season. Number 10 pass offense in the country. PJ Flex boys doing really, really well there. Number 19 defense as well, so really stout as far as that's concerned. Looking to shut down both these teams fairly evenly matched, but I think that poor pass defense from Ohio will be their downfall. In the Pac-12 championship, as we get to kind of the major implications here, number 12 Washington, number 11 UCLA rematch, as UCLA came in with a 28-24 victory against Washington just a few weeks ago here in the season. Washington, number 6 offense in the country, number 2 defense in the country, looking to exact their revenge and shut down the big matchup we want to watch here. Number 4 pass offense from UCLA against the number 1 pass defense from Washington. That's where this game's going to be won or lost. Wisconsin, Ohio State, number 9 Wisconsin, 11-1, 8-1 in the conference against 12-0, 9 Ohio State. If Ohio State wins, I anticipate they'll be in the BCS National Championship game. Best offense in the country, best defense in the country. I mean, what can you say? Number 2 in turnover differential. But Herbstreit going against the party line, being Ohio State grad, he sees Wisconsin coming away with a victory. So wild to see him take that pick and that kind of stance here. Number 7 defense, number 9 offense for Wisconsin. So they're definitely a good, solid team, but that is a wild pick for Herbstreit. Georgia, Alabama in the SEC championship. It's really just Alabama, who's been fairly underwhelming this year. Really solid defense as always, number 17 in yardage in the country. Great turnover differential, but their offense has struggled. It's done enough to win games. So can they hold off a Georgia team that scored well but not great across the board? So I would anticipate Alabama to come away with a victory there. We will, of course, have the ACC championship as well. Your Pitt Panthers, number 4 in the country, taking on number 5 Clemson, but we'll have a preview for that in the next episode. We'll give you a little bit better preview here before we take you to that contest and all the other excitement on conference championship week. But Clemson versus Pitt is going to be an absolute barn burner. There's no doubt about that. Herbstreit picks the Tigers to get their revenge. We'll give you our prediction here on the Pitt Panthers Football Network in the next episode, guys. Let me know who you think is going to win these titles, who should be in the national title game, who should win the Heisman, all of that good stuff. We hope to hear from you. We'll see you, as always, in the next episode. Take care. Hail to Pitt. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.